In this video, I wanted to see if I could beat a hardcore Nuzlocke with Pokémon Scarlet using only ground-type shinies. That's right, I'm doing my first ever shiny-only run. This is going to be a full-odd shiny run with no shiny boosting sandwiches or shiny charm up until the point where this run breaks me. With only 15 amazing-looking ground types to collect then, this is not going to be a walk in the park. That's because under my hardcore Nuzlocke rules, if a Pokémon faints, it's considered dead and must be released. I can also only catch the first shiny ground-type encounter on each route. The rest of the rules are on screen now and in the description. Without further delay then, let's go get stuck into a run that is probably going to take a while. Oh, also if you enjoy this video, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more in the future. This run took well over 100 hours to complete and it broke me mentally, so I'd really appreciate it. Okay, on with the run. So first things first, our mum sends us off to boarding school, which means I get to spend an hour sitting through boring cutscenes. Joy. Once we get a prehistoric dog, meet our so-called friends of secret villain, needs therapy, and take a chill pill Jesus Christ, we're finally let loose into the world. That means we can start our first shiny hunt, and there's two ground types I can grab before the first gym, Wooper and Diglett. I decide to start with the Wooper because it spawns less and is probably going to take a bit longer. Little did I know how true that statement would turn out to be. So I make myself a sandwich that boosts the amount of ground types that spawn and start looking for that 1 in 4,000 Wooper. Maybe I'll get lucky with this first shiny hunt and this won't take that long. Any minute now. Put in some good hours today. I'm sure Wooper will turn up tomorrow. Here, Wooper, Wooper, Wooper. Here, boy. Then it finally happens. I accidentally run into the wrong shiny. And when I say accidentally run into, I mean if I hadn't nearly ran this little over with my bike, I doubt I would have even noticed it was shiny. Honestly, Igglybuff has got to have one of the worst shinies in the game, right? Well, at least now we found our first shiny. I'm sure it won't take long till we get that Wooper. Oh my god, finally. Get in the ball, you little... You'd think I would be feeling some sort of relief at this point at finally finding Cheese and Onion, because, you know, he's adorable. But honestly, I'm just feeling dread at the fact that this was only my first shiny. Oh well, I'm invested now. Let's go find a Diglett. I do get shown a little bit of mercy here, because luckily, Diglett doesn't take quite as long as Wooper. I think mainly because a lot of Diglets spawn in this cave. It still does take over 10 hours though, so I'm very happy when I finally find the blue-nosed mole, meaning after 30 hours of gameplay, I can actually go and fight our first gym battle. This run is going to take a while, isn't it? So first up on our list of gym leaders is Katie, the bug-type trainer. Wish me luck. I start with Cheese and Onion and Katie starts with Nimble. Nimble can't really hurt Cheese and Onion thanks to his poison typing, so I'm able to set up 2 layers of toxic spikes while only taking 2 weak struggle bugs. 3 poison tails are then enough to very slowly chip down the Nimble. Second is Tarantula, who gets badly poisoned immediately. I can then stall with a Protect to start building up toxic damage. Cheese and Onion is then able to dodge an Assurance, land 1 poison tail, and then crit a second poison tail on the following turn, meaning I get to KO the annoying spider ball without taking any more hits. Now you might have noticed there that Cheese and Onion only got the crit because it's got maxed out happiness. These happiness mechanics are really broken and kind of ruin any sense of challenge this game has, so from this fight onwards I will be keeping my Pokemon sad and resetting their happiness to 0 before every fight. Last then for Katie is Teddiursa, who tears into a bug type after being poisoned. I'm able to stall through a turn with Protect before taking a really hard Fury Cutter. Cheese and Onion then lands a poison tail that actually doesn't even do a lot after the poison damage. That's worrying. This is going to be a lot closer than I thought. A second Protect means poison brings the Teddiursa to 50%, but this is still looking bad. Luckily, thanks to stupid friendship bull, Teddiursa misses a Fury Cutter on the following turn. That's huge as it allows Cheese and Onion to bring the teddy bear down low enough to where poison damage on the following turn wins us our first gym badge of the run. That's the first gym taken down then, actually a lot closer than I was expecting. Thanks to some unforeseen consequences of shiny hunting though, we pulled off a win. Again, I will be making sure I don't win all of these fights thanks to happiness going forward, but still, first gym badge acquired. Up next then, we've got our first Titan fight to deal with, and the giant rock crab is weak to our ground type moves, so it doesn't stand a chance and goes down pretty easily thanks to Cheese and Onion. Goodbye strange cow crab, you'll be sorely missed. Moving on from the crab then, we're shortly able to make our way to Artisan City, and as I'm doing the gym challenge, I realise I'm going to need to do some prep work before challenging this gym. We've very nearly lost the last fight, and this one is looking to be even harder. Can't really be taking risks when it takes over 10 hours to find a new Pokemon. That means I think it's time to go get another Pokemon, and I have the choice of Gible or Numel for ground types that aren't weak to Brass's grass types. Unfortunately though, the lowest level Numel I can catch is 18, meaning I have to instead hunt for a shiny Gible. This is annoying for two reasons. Firstly is that Gible won't learn a move that's super effective against grass types, and there's also the risk that I run into a shiny Larvitar instead of Gible, and that would completely mess up my whole plan. Just kinda gotta hope for the best though, and wing it. Hopefully this doesn't take as long as finding Wooper. And there it is, many days later, on what is by far the longest shiny hunt I've ever done, we find our shiny Gible, who we name Salt and Vinegar. This shiny actually looks pretty cool, so it almost makes up for the fact by this point my sleep schedule is completely messed up thanks to all the shiny hunting I've been doing. With Salt and Vinegar added to our party, I decide to go and grab some leftovers and then to head just north to grab the TM for Poison Jab so Cheese and Onion can hit slightly harder into this next gym fight. Speaking of which, with all our prep work done, we're now ready to face off against our second gym leader of the run. Brass's starts with Petalil and I start off with Salt and Vinegar. I start the fight with a Dragon Breath that doesn't do a huge amount, but at the very least, Salt and Vinegar is able to dodge a Sleep Powder. Good start. A second Dragon Breath then brings the Petalil to 50% before Petalil hits back with a Mega Drain that doesn't do a huge amount. Another two Dragon Breaths then annoyingly miss the KO, but thankfully Salt and Vinegar only has to take one more Mega Drain and then a Sleep Powder that is immediately cured before one last Dragon Breath is finally able to KO. Second is Smoliv, so I decide to carry on going for Dragon Breaths. Smoliv hits back with the Razor Leaf and then a second Razor Leaf unfortunately crits and KOs Salt and Vinegar. I should probably have played around the crit there, but looking at what happens during the rest of this fight, having Cheese and Onion come in for 3 was actually kind of important. Rest in peace my blue dragon. Looking at the positives, I do get a 3 switch into Cheese and Onion, who is able to set up a layer of Toxic Spikes and immediately get crit again. For f***'s sake, if I keep getting crit, that Sudowoodo is going to eat me alive. Thankfully, I heal back some of the damage with Protect and Leftovers before setting up another layer of Toxic Spikes. A second Razor Leaf then does bring my Wooper down to 50%, but some of the damage is once again healed thanks to Leftovers and Protect. A single Poison Jab is then enough to finish off the annoying Olive. Okay, this hasn't been going great here, but hopefully, thanks to Sudowoodo being toxic when it comes in, and Protect, I should be able to stall out a win. Turn 1 against the Sudowoodo, I go through a Poison Jab. Of course, the Fake Tree outspeeds and lands a Trailblaze that does a stupid amount of damage. I'm really in some trouble here, especially because Poison Jab from Cheese and Onion does less than half. Luckily, I can stall through another turn with Protect, but even after Leftovers recovery, there's no way my purple boy survives another hit here. That's why I decide to make a tough decision. I decide to sack Ready Salted. This is the best chance I see of getting out of this fight alive, and Cheese and Onion being a poison ground type is just so much more useful than the pure ground type that is Ready Salted. So with a heavy heart, I switch my blues-nosed mole in and watch as this stupid tree KOs another one of my shinies. Rest in peace, Ready Salted. You were taken from us too soon. I never even got to use you in battle. Thanks to Ready Salted's sacrifice though, Poison brings the Sudowoodo low enough to where Cheese and Onion can come in, stall with one more Protect, and then the Sudowoodo goes down to Poison. Okay, we won, just barely. Only cost us 2/3 of our team. Second gym badge acquired, but now I'm gonna have to look at rebuilding my team. Annoyingly, there's actually only one other ground type I can get that is within my level cap of 20, and that's Thanthy. Thanthy has a pretty boring shiny, but when it evolves into Donphan, it looks pretty cool, so I'm not complaining about having to use this thing. So after a couple hours of searching for this little elephant, I decide to Google what shiny Thanthy looks like, just so I don't miss it, as it looks very similar to the original. While I'm looking, amusingly, a little friend comes to see what I'm Googling. Huh, that was easy compared to every other shiny I've gotten so far. Happy to add Prawn Cocktail to my team. I'm also able to get my first evolution of the run, evolving Cheese and Onion into Clodsire, and my god, he's adorable. He's just a big purple bean and I love him for it. With Thanthy added to my party and Cheese and Onion evolved, I'm confident enough to go after our second Titan, this time the giant bird that is the Sky Titan. Luckily, like the rock crab before him, this proves to be a walk in the park, as a combination of my little elephant and purple bean are enough to clip the wings of this overgrown chicken with no problems whatsoever. With my level cap now raised to 21, I'm able to go shiny hunting again, and this time I'm looking for a slightly off-putting shiny that is Toadscool. And this is the one that finally breaks me, folks. I spend 4 days looking for this stupid thing, around 96 hours, and honestly, it breaks me. I decide if I ever want to get this video out, find time to go to university, and actually sleep at night, I'm gonna need to put the odds slightly more in my favour. And thanks to some stupidly good timing, I'm able to do just that. As I'm running around looking for this stupid bloody tree squid, I trip and fall over a sack of hundreds of shiny sandwiches. These sandwiches increase the odds of me finding a shiny from 1 in 4,000 to 1 in about 1,000. I know some of you will be disappointed that this run isn't carrying on at full odds, but honestly I did try, so I hope you can accept me doing this. Even with my newly found sandwiches, I do have to spend another couple hours still hunting, to the point I think maybe my game has broken, but then eventually, after so many hours, it happens. Oh thank f***, it's finally over. That took so long, Jesus Christ. With roast chicken added to my party, I can finally carry on with this game, and I fully decided I hate shiny hunting. With that agonizing gauntlet out the way then, we can go and fight our first Team Star boss, Giacomo. I'm hoping this shouldn't be too difficult, so fingers crossed. Giacomo starts with Pawnyard, and I start with Fanthi. Pawnyard starts the fight by outspeeding and landing a weak Metal Claw, and then Prawn Cocktail hits back with a Bulldoze that doesn't one-shot but still does good damage. Scarily, Pawnyard then gets an attack boost thanks to Defiant, but Prawn Cocktail still tanks another Metal Claw well on the following turn, and then is able to KO with a second Bulldoze. Last to Giacomo then is his stupidly large truck. Starmobiles can be pretty tanky, but I've given Cheese and Onion low kick, so he should be able to win this. How my purple bean can kick with his dinky little legs, I don't know, but it's funny to think about. On the switch, Cheese and Onion takes a metal burst, perfect. A wicked torque then does low damage, while a low kick does about a quarter in retaliation. Thanks to stalling every other turn with protect and leftovers, I'm able to keep Cheese and Onion nice and healthy, while slowly whittling down the Starmobile with low kicks. Eventually the big truck falls without too much of an issue. Some of the later Team Star bosses might become a problem, but that was pretty straightforward. Now with our level cap raised to 24, we can once again go and shiny hunt some more encounters. Firstly, in South Province Area 5, on this little beach, we can spend some time looking for one of the coolest shinies in this game, a Sandygast. In what is a nice change of pace, thanks to my newly found shiny sandwiches and being able to respawn so many of these sandcastles at once, this actually doesn't take too long, honestly. Now the funny thing is, despite this being one of my favourite shinies in the game, I actually completely forget to nickname our sandcastle for the rest of the run. Oops. Not a lot I can do about it after the fact, so we might as well just carry on. We actually get to go hunt another ground type shiny, and this time we're looking in the desert. There's a load of different ground types I could find here, and I'm hoping for a Sandile, who is a monster once he evolves. Unfortunately though, I don't get lucky this time around, and instead, after what feels like a silly amount of time considering I've given myself much better odds, I find a Hippopotas who looks very slightly different to his brothers. Honestly, I didn't even notice this was shiny at first. Suppose not everybody can be as cool as my sandcastle. Welcome aboard, Smoky Bacon. Unfortunately, Smoky Bacon can't actually join our party until we've defeated the next gym leader, as he's level 25. Fortunately, it's now time to fight that gym leader, so Smoky Bacon should be joining the team shortly. This time we're battling Iona, the electric type gym leader, and obviously I'm doing a ground only run, and this is an electric gym leader, so I'm not expecting this to be too difficult. First up for Iona is Wattrel, while I start with Prawn Cocktail. Prawn Cocktail is nailed by a weak pluck before flattening the dumb electric bird with a rock tomb that does over half. My little elephant then tanks another weak pluck before getting our first KO of the match with a second rock tomb. Second is Bellybot, who threatens with water gun. That's not a problem to Roast Chicken though, who tanks the hit like it's nothing. 3 mud shots are then enough for another easy KO. Third is Luxio, who also goes down to 2 mud shots after bringing my Toad to just below half with a bite. That just leaves Miss Magius, Iona's ace, who annoyingly has Levitate, so this isn't completely 3. I'm still confident in Cheese and Onion though, so I switch him in on a Hex that despite critting, doesn't do too much. Miss Magius then lands a Confuse Ray, which could be annoying, but luckily my big bean breaks through and lands a really strong poison jab. I decide I don't really want to play around with confusion luck here, so on the following turn I switch into Prawn Cocktail, who should be healthy enough to survive a hit. So I send him in on a Hex that doesn't do too much. I then switch back into Cheese and Onion on a Hex. A second Hex then does bring Cheese and Onion to around 50%, but one more poison jab is enough to KO Iona's ace. Pretty easy fight, but then that was always expected through the electric gym in a ground type only run. Third gym badge acquired. As a reward for winning our third gym badge, Prawn Cocktail evolves into the really cool shiny that is Donphan. They grow up so fast. With our third badge then, our next target is another Team Starbase. This time I have to take down the Fire-type trainer, Melia. Unsurprisingly, having a team of ground types against Melia's Fire types goes about as well as you'd expect. A few bulldozers from Cheese and Onion are enough to take down the Torkoal, and then all that's left to deal with is the Starmobile. The overly large truck starts by going through a Screech that misses. Perfect. A Bulldoze then does about a quarter. This might be even easier than I thought it would be, especially because the Starmobile just goes through a second Screech on the following turn, as another Bulldoze brings the Fire truck to 50%. 2 more Bulldozers, and I've got this in the bag. Cheese and Onion then gets hit down to 9 HP from a single Blazing Torque. Okay, Jesus. I know I had my defenses lowered, but I wasn't expecting that to do quite so much. At least Cheese and Onion survives and is able to land another Bulldoze. I can then switch into Prawn Cocktail, who eats a Blaze Torque like it's nothing, and then KO with one last Bulldoze. Other than a mild heart attack there, that was a pretty straightforward fight. While we're on the subject of pretty straightforward fights, we've now got to deal with the Snake Titan Orthworm. And I'm not sure why this is always the easiest fight in the game, no matter the run, but like every other Gen 9 run on YouTube, the big old worm falls extremely easily with no problems at all. We've just had a string of fights where I had the type advantage, and unfortunately that's now over, as the next gym leader I have to face is Kothu and his water types. This is going to cause me some problems. Luckily there is a certain ground type that will make this fight a lot easier, so after evolving Roast Chicken into his very pink and amazing final form, I can start hunting another shiny. Now this hunt is pretty annoying, not because I'm failing to find any shinies, but because the game decides to give me every single shiny it could possibly give me over the course of around 8 hours, apart from the one I want. I find a diseased Wiglet, a yellow Weasel, a slightly different shaded Palathin, and then of course, because the first Wiglet wasn't enough, a second one. This game hates me, I swear. Eventually though, I do spot my little orange Shellos, who I name Monster Munch. Monster Munch is then able to evolve, and I'll be honest, not much of a fan of Gastrodon's shiny. Oh well, this is still a vital encounter. I can then head north for the final piece of the puzzle I need to beat Kothu, as I can find the Earth Power TM on the side of this mountain. That's all the setup I need then. Let's hope it was enough to take down the water type gym leader, Kothu. Kothu starts with the loser, and I start with Smoky Bacon to set up a Sandstorm. With Sandstorm set up, however, I no longer need Smoky Bacon in, so I switch into Roast Chicken, who takes a huge amount from a critical hit Aqua Cutter. Was hoping to take that a little bit better, not gonna lie. Fortunately, my Roast Chicken can then outspeed on the following turn and land a Mega Drain, healing Roast Chicken enough to where he survives a pluck from the bitey fish. Of course, this fish has to get off the final few as it goes through an Aqua Jet before it goes down, but at least I'm able to get the KO with a Mega Drain. Second is Wugtrio, who does outspeed and land a weak headbutt, but a single Mega Drain is then enough to do over half. Roast Chicken then just has to take one more hit for another easy KO. Last the Kothu then is his ugly crab, so I switch into Monster Munch on a crab hammer that raises my special attack. Monster Munch then takes a slam on the following turn as I misclick and go through a recover. Oops, not a huge mistake though, because then 2 Earth Powers are enough for another easy KO. That fight should have been really dangerous for my ground types, but luckily I had the perfect counters for Kothu's team, meaning it was a pretty easy walk in the park. 4th gym badge acquired. With Kothu defeated, up next is another Team Star boss, this time the poison type trainer Atticus. Now I'm not expecting this to be difficult, so let's hope this goes well. Atticus starts with Stunk Tank, and I start with Cheese and Onion. Cheese and Onion immediately gets nailed by a weak Sucker Punch before nearly one-shotting with a Bulldoze. Cheese and Onion then has to take a second Sucker Punch that brings him down to 50% before he KOs the Stinky Skunk with a second Bulldoze. Second is Retherroom, the smaller one. I never understood why Atticus has 2 Retherrooms, but maybe we shouldn't question it. I completely forgot that this car engine has Bulldoze itself, so I very nearly lose Cheese and Onion here. Thankfully he survives though, and is able to pick up another KO. You know, these Team Star bosses have been fairly straightforward in this run so far, so I should probably stop risking Cheese and Onion in them. Anyway, third for Atticus is Muck, so I switch into Prawn Cocktail on a sludge wave that does next to nothing. Muck kinda sucks, so a single Bulldoze is enough to take him out. That just leaves the Starmobile, the bigger one this time. Donphan can handle this toxic car pretty easily though, so after 3 stomping tantrums, it goes down. Another easy fight. Thanks to our new level cap of 36, I'm able to evolve Smoky Bacon into the absolute unit that is Hippowdon. We're really flying through this game at this point because I don't even need any more prep work before our next gym fight against the very relatably depressed Larry. My Pokemon are all pretty physically defensive, so I'm not expecting too much trouble. Larry starts with his Koala and I start with Sandygast. Sandygast can't be hit by any of this Koala's attacks apart from Sucker Punch, so I just have to stall for 5 turns before I start attacking with Sand Tomb. Oh, must have miscounted there. Luckily that didn't do a lot, and that was 100% the Koala's last Sucker Punch. That means I just have to spend a couple more turns going for Sand Tomb before eventually getting the KO. Annoyingly, the Koala does land a Yawn the turn before it's KO'd, meaning my Sandcastle does fall asleep as Dunsparce comes out. That's not an issue though, because I can just switch into Roast Chicken on a resisted drill run. Roast Chicken then gets a crit from a Mud Shot that doesn't do even half. Was expecting a bit more damage there. At least Dunsparce only hits back with a Glare. Somehow, even after being paralyzed, Roast Chicken still outspeeds and lands another weak Mud Shot before taking a massive amount from a Hyper Drill. I'm definitely not letting Roast Chicken take another one of those, so I switch back into Sandygast, who is immune and has great defense. Unfortunately, Sandygast gets brought fairly low without waking up, so I'm forced to switch again, this time into Smoky Bacon, who tanks a drill run like it's nothing. My stupidly big Hippo is then able to get off a dig that finishes off the Dunsparce. That took a while, but at least that thing's gone. All that leaves to Larry is his Staraptor. Of course, Staraptor has Intimidate, so there's no point staying in anymore, so I switch through Sandygast into Prawn Cocktail, who tanks an Aerial Ace like it's nothing. A Facade on the following turn does do slightly more, but my Elephant doesn't care because 2 Stomping Tantrums are enough to easily KO Larry's Bird. That was a pretty long gym fight, but our ground types proved too much for Larry, meaning we get another straightforward win. 5th gym badge acquired. Moving on then, after evolving my Sandcastle into a bigger Sandcastle, we're immediately thrown into another gym fight, this time against the Ghost-type leader, Rhyme. Now, I don't have any direct counters to Rhyme's Pokemon, and this is a double battle, so this could be tricky. Rhyme starts with Mimikyu and Bayonet, and I start with Prawn Cocktail and Smoky Bacon. Unfortunately, my Pokemon are fairly slow, so Rhyme is able to go first, but she wastes this opportunity by setting up a light screen in front of my physical attackers, and then going through an Icy Wind that doesn't really do much. Perfect. Smoky Bacon is then able to retaliate with a strong crunch into the Bayonet that very nearly one-shots, and then Prawn Cocktail is able to finish off the puppet with a knockoff. Up next is Houndstone, and my Pokemon both get a stat boost. I can never remember how the stat boosts work in this fight, but I'm not going to complain. And then make a pretty big misplay as the Houndstone goes through a Phantom Force, and of course I doubled up into it, meaning both my attacks miss. Oops. At the very least, I'm not punished, as Mimikyu just goes for another weak slash. Houndstone then reappears and lands a pretty weak Phantom Force into Prawn Cocktail, before Mimikyu lands another pathetic slash into Smoky Bacon. My Pokemon are such tanky units, I love it. Smoky Bacon is then able to land a Yawn into the Mimikyu, as my Elephant lands a knockoff into the Houndstone, bringing it to below half. Of course, Houndstone annoyingly goes for another Phantom Force on the following turn, meaning Prawn Cocktail misses its attack and can't get the KO. Smoky Bacon is only able to break the Mimikyu's disguise before it falls asleep. Next, I decide to switch Prawn Cocktail out for Cheese and Onion, while Smoky Bacon lands a crunch into the annoying Vanishing Dog, finally getting the KO. This forces out Rhyme's Ace Toxtricity. I decide to protect for a turn with Smoky Bacon, while Cheese and Onion gets off a Bulldoze that very nearly KOs the Mimikyu and crits the Toxtricity. This is why Cheese and Onion is the best boy. Sand then takes down the Mimikyu, and that just leaves Rhyme's Ace, who gets an Omni Boost. That would be scary, but I'm fairly sure Smoky Bacon is beefy enough to take a hit here, so I protect with Cheese and Onion, as Smoky Bacon takes a weak Hyper Voice before ending the fight with a crunch. Some of my Pokemon took quite a beating during that fight, but my team was just too bulky for Rhyme to handle. 6th gym badge acquired. That just leaves 2 more gym leaders to deal with, but first we've got to deal with another easy Titan fight. I'm starting to wonder if it's even worth showing these fights, if I'm honest. Like, with the exception of the Sky Titan, they're all stupidly easy. Oh well, with that out of the way, way, we can move straight on to our next gym fight against Tulip, the Psychic type trainer. This could be another tricky one, as most of my Pokemon are more physically bulky than special, and Tulip's Pokemon can all hit pretty hard if you're not careful. Let's jump right in then, as Tulip starts with Theratherig, and I start with Smoky Bacon. Theratherig starts by setting up a Reflect, meaning my Crunch doesn't do a lot. I don't really want to have to deal with Protect when Tulip's more threatening Pokemon come out, so I decide to start stalling by going through a Yawn after taking a weak Zen Headbutt. Protecting through a turn then means the Giraffe falls asleep. Perfect. 2 more Crunches are then enough to KO and stall out the Reflect. Couldn't have asked for that to go any better. Second is Gardevoir, so I switch into Cheese and Onion, who tanks an Energy Ball. I now do have to risk Cheese and Onion to a crit, but if he can survive, this is the fastest way of taking down this threatening Pokemon. So I take the risk, and luckily, my Bean is bulky enough to survive the hit and then land a Poison Jab that one-shots. Third is Espira, and I can't have Cheese and Onion take another Psychic, so I switch into Roast Chicken. On the switch, Roast Chicken easily takes the hit. He does then have to take 2 more Psychics that leave him just below 50%, but 2 Hexes are enough to KO the Ostrich. That just leaves Tulip's ace, Florges. Now, Roast Chicken is one of the most specially bulky Pokemon I have, so I decide to risk a crit and stay in. Thankfully, I'm never punished, so Roast Chicken survives and is able to land a Spore. With the scary ace asleep then, I switch into Smoky Bacon. I then try to get off the Crunch, but of course, this stupid bouquet of flowers wakes up and lands a critical hit Moonblast. Ouch, I'm just glad that crit didn't come a turn earlier. I can't really complain about being crit though, because then Smoky Bacon hits back with his own crit that after Sand leaves the Florges in the red. Unfortunately though, after stalling through a turn with Protect, Sandstorm Chip just misses the KO. That means I have to switch again, and my Sandcastle does take a nasty amount from a Psychic. My Sandcastle lives though, meaning the stupid ace goes down to Sandstorm Chip, and we win our 7th gym badge. A couple of crits there in the right places, and that fight could have gotten out of control, but we pulled through with another deathless win. 1 more gym badge to go. We've unfortunately left the hardest gym fight for last, because I've got to find some way to get past Grusha, the Ice type gym leader, if I want that last badge. Now every single one of my Pokemon, except Monster Munch, is probably going to be 2-shot here. That's obviously going to be a problem, because I can't just rely on Monster Munch to solo this entire gym. Or can I? Gastrodon is pretty bulky, leftovers Protect and Recover. I might be able to hang on long enough to KO all of these Pokemon with Rock Slide. If not, then I'm in a lot of trouble. Let's hope my team can pull us through its hardest challenge yet then. Grusha starts with Frostmoth, while I start with Monster Munch. I'm immediately outsped, and if I took a Blizzard here, I would be in real trouble, but luckily the Moth just sets up a Tailwind. This lets me KO with a single Rock Slide without taking any damage. Okay, with that kind of luck, we should be in the clear here. Second is Beartic, so I stay in and take a hard Icicle Crash before hitting back with a slightly stronger Rock Slide. Without Leftovers and Protect, I'd still probably win this fight, but Monster Munch would be brought so low I'd lose the rest of this battle. However, thanks to stalling every other turn, I'm able to bring the Ice Bear down into range where 1 more attack will KO, and then heal back to basically full with Recover. That worked out amazingly well, as I'm then able to KO with 1 last Rock Slide after only losing about 1/3 of Monster Munch's health. Third is the Titan, so I go through another Rock Slide. Before my attack lands though, Ice Spinner does a worrying amount, and then Rock Slide lands but does less than half. This could be slightly risky. Thanks to Recover though, I'm able to bring Monster Munch back to full HP after stalling through another turn with Protect. So far this is going really well, simply because Grusha's Pokemon can't do enough damage fast enough before I can heal with Recover. Unfortunately though, 2 more Rock Slides aren't enough to get the KO, and I'm starting to run low on PP through Recover. Because I want Monster Munch as healthy as possible when the Altaria comes in, I decide after restoring most of my HP again, I should switch. I decide on Smoky Bacon as he's tanky enough to take a hit here, and then Sandstorm should finish off the Titan. So I switch and pray for no crit, and Smoky Bacon takes the hit really well. All going according to plan then, as the Titan then falls to Sandstorm. That just leaves Altaria, and I'm in a pretty good spot to win here, as most of my team is healthy, and my main counter for Gresh's ice types has basically full HP. Next, I switch back into Monster Munch, and an Ice Beam does next to nothing. I've so got this. So on the next turn, I go through a Rock Slide that does over half before being hit by a Hurricane. Easy. 2 more attacks, and I'm in the clear, so of course, after stalling for another turn with Protect, and healing to full with my last Recover, Hurricane confuses, and Monster Munch hurts himself. Okay, right, let's try that again. So I go through a Rock Slide, and it connects. 1 more attack, and we're in the clear, so I go through an Earth Power, and Hurricane misses. And we snap out of confusion, and Monster Munch ends our final gym battle with 1 last Earth Power. Brilliant. Monster Munch pretty much soloed that whole thing, with the exception of Sir Titan. My team is amazing, and with that we've won our 8th and final gym badge. Before we reach the end then, we've got 2 more Team Star bases and 1 more Titan to defeat. So first out of our final 3 is Ortuga, the Fairy type Team Star boss. Ortuga starts with Azumarill and I start with Roast Chicken. Roast Chicken is immediately hit with a completely pointless charm that lets me get off a Spore for 3. Good start, because now Azumarill is asleep, Roast Chicken can easily KO with 2 Giga Drains. Second is Wigglytuff, who I handle in the exact same way. Roast Chicken has to take an actual attack this time around, in the form of a hard Play Rough, but then a Spore connects, putting the Wigglytuff to sleep. 3 Giga Drains then fully heal Roast Chicken and pick up another easy KO. Third is Dash Bun, and if something's not broke, why fix it? So I take another Play Rough, put the pup to sleep, and then KO with 3 more Giga Drains. I don't get as lucky as the last 2 times, because Dash Bun does wake up on the final turn and get off another Play Rough, but by that point it's too late, as it still goes down the exact same way as its comrades. That just leaves the Starmobile, and this thing can be annoying because it likes to constantly confuse my Pokemon. Hopefully I can get lucky, so I switch into Cheese and Onion, who tanks a weak magical Talk on the switch. I do then get confused, but thanks to some crazy confusion luck, I'm able to land 4 poison jabs in a row and easily end this fight. Cheese and Onion has got my vote for president at this point. I love him that much. And we don't even have presidents here. With Ortuga down, we've now just got 1 Titan fight and 1 more Team Star boss to go. First, let's finish up Team Star by taking down its final leader, Eerie, the fighting type trainer. Eerie has a pretty full team of strong fighting types and then a Starmobile that likes to set up, so this could be tricky. Let's go take down Team Star. Eerie starts with Toxicroak and I start with Roast Chicken. A single Earth Power is enough for an easy one-shot. Good start. Second is Annihilate, so I switch into Monster Munch to avoid a devastating Ice Punch. A close combat then does a huge amount into Monster Munch before an Earth Power very nearly KOs in retaliation. There's no way Monster Munch is taking another one of those, so I switch into Smoky Bacon, who takes a close combat a lot better. A second close combat then brings my big boy down to below 50%, but because of all the defense drops, a single crunch is able to take down the Spooky Ghost Monkey. Third is another monkey, so I stay in and Smoky Bacon gets brought really low by another close combat. That's fine though, because my Hippo survives and lands a Yawn. Stalling through a turn with Protect then puts the monkey to sleep, so I switch into Prawn Cocktail. Of course, as I then try to attack, the monkey wakes up and lands another close combat, but thankfully my elephant is tanky enough to eat the hit. A single Earthquake then takes down the second monkey. Fourth is Lucario, who immediately outspeeds and lands a super strong Aura Sphere, but Prawn Cocktail survives and retaliates with a massive Earthquake that one-shots. That just leaves the final Starmobile, and I could be in a bit of trouble here because my team's looking rather beaten up. Cheese and Onion is still probably my best bet, as he resists any fighting moves this truck knows. On the switch, the Starmobile goes for a shift gear, increasing its attack. Okay, too many of those and this could end badly. The worrying part is I can only hit the Starmobile with weak poison jabs, meaning there's nothing I can really do to stop it setting up. I go for poison jab after poison jab and watch as the Weatheroom keeps increasing its attack. I'm actually expecting to lose someone at this point, so I switch into my Sandcastle, who is more bulky than Cheese and Onion. Earth Power is still doing low damage though, meaning as soon as the Starmobile starts going for attacks, I'm screwed, but for some reason the AI throws and keeps setting up despite being at +6 attack. This lets my Sandcastle bring the truck low enough to where I need 1 more attack to KO. There's no way I can get through this fight though without losing someone at this point, because I'm going to be outsped on the following turn and no one on my team is surviving a +6 attack. So with a heavy heart, knowing that my Sandcastle Sandcastle is probably going to die here. I click Earth Power and Quick Claw activates. I just got insanely lucky. I only gave my Sandcastle Quick Claw because I didn't have any other items to give it. Somehow I've beaten my last Team Star boss without losing anyone. That was insanely close. My ground types are clearly just built different. That just leaves one more Titan to take down before at the end game an Elite Four, and this goes about as well as you'd expect, as Dondozo and Tatsugiri are easily dispatched by my team of shiny boys. Again, I'm really questioning next time just cutting these fights out of the video. Oh well, can't complain. With the Double Trouble Duo Titan taken down, we can now make our way to the Pokemon League for our final challenge. Let's see who we're bringing. We've got Roast Chicken, the Toad's Crawl, Cheese and Onion, the Clodsire, Prawn Cocktail, the Donphan, Palo Sand, the Palo Sand, Monster Munch, the Gastrodon, and last but by no means least, Smoky Bacon, the Hippowdon. We haven't really had any deaths since the disastrous second gym battle, but let's see if all my shinies can make it through this final challenge and defeat the Elite Four and Champion. Remember to leave a like on the video and subscribe to wish me luck. Let's go and end this. First up for this Elite Four is Rika, who also uses ground types. It's a ground versus ground face-off, but I've got better coverage, so this should be fine. Rika starts with Wish Cash, while I start with Roast Chicken. Roast Chicken is able to start this Elite Four with an easy one-shot. Good start. Second is Camerupt, who is also one-shot by an Earth Power. Third is Donphan, who just barely survives the Giga Drain, but can only hit back with a weak Iron Head. A second Giga Drain then picks up another KO. Fourth is Dugtrio, who also goes down to a single Giga Drain. It's fair to say my ground types are slightly better than hers. Last then is her Clodsire, who does threaten Roast Chicken with its poison moves. Because of this, I switch into Monster Munch. On the switch, Monster Munch takes a liquidation that gives me a 3 special attack boost. Nice. An Ice Beam then very nearly one-shots the stupid Ace before it hits back with a powerful Earthquake. Monster Munch is the best boy though and takes the hit like it's nothing, and then hits back with another Ice Beam that ends our first Elite Four fight. That was stupidly easy, probably going to be an uphill battle from this point though. Second for this Elite Four, they send out a small child to face my Wrath, and considering Poppy and her steel types are weak to my ground type attacks, I'm expecting this to be as easy as the last fight. So Poppy starts with Copperage and I start with Roast Chicken again. I'm expecting another easy one-shot here, as this elephant has surprisingly low defense, but it just survives the attack, meaning it's able to get off a heavy slam. Holy I was not expecting to take that much damage. Thank God that didn't crit. Despite a mild heart attack, a second Earth Power is enough to pick up our first KO. Second is Corviknight, who would be an issue if I didn't have Smoky Bacon. Luckily I do, and he can learn Fire Fang, so this should be fine. It does take a couple of Fire Fangs because of Corviknight's high defense, but Smoky Bacon is just able to tank Brave Birds until eventually the bird falls. Third for Poppy is Bronzong, so I switch into my Sandcastle. 2 Shadow Balls are then enough for another KO. Fourth for Poppy is Magnezone, so I switch into Cheese and Onion on a light screen. I had planned to use Cheese and Onion to KO this stupid magnet, but I kinda forgot to reteach my Purple Bean Earthquake. Oops, oh well, instead I go through a yawn. I can then switch into Prawn Cocktail, take a hard Flash Cannon, watch as the magnet falls asleep, and then KO with 2 Earthquakes. That just leaves Poppy's ace Tinkatonk. Annoyingly, my team is beat up enough at this point to where I'm not sure if anyone else can take a hit from this stupid thing's 240 base power move. That means I'm gonna have to take a slight risk with Prawn Cocktail. So I stay in and take a really scary Gigaton Hammer, but thanks to Tinkatonk's pathetic attack stat, Prawn Cocktail survives and is able to hit back with an Earthquake for the one shot. Okay, that got kind of scary near the end thanks to my Pokemon slowly being whittled down, but we still pulled through. 2 more to go. Third for this Elite Four is everybody's favourite depressed office worker, Larry. This time, Larry is using flying types, but I'm still not too worried. Larry starts with Tropius, and I start with Prawn Cocktail. I know there's no way Tropius can attack Prawn Cocktail here with anything other than Solar Beam, so I'm completely safe to go through a Rock Slide that does over 50%. I then switch into Cheese and Onion, who takes the Solar Beam stupidly well. A single Poison Jab is then enough to finish off the dinosaur. Second is Altaria, who does threaten with Ice Beams. Despite being super effective, they do a pathetic amount, meaning Cheese and Onion is able to pick up another easy KO with 2 more Rock Slides. Third is Staraptor, and because of Intimidate, I decide to switch into Smoky Bacon. Smoky Bacon does have to take 2 hard Brave Birds, but then a single Rock Slide and Sandstorm Chip are enough for another KO. Fourth is Oricorio, so I switch into Monster Munch. Annoyingly, on the switch, Monster Munch is hit by a Tera Dance, meaning this could get annoying quick, or Monster Munch will hit 2 Ice Beams in a row after dodging an Air Slash. Never mind, shouldn't have doubted my slimy boy. Last for Larry then is his stupid Flamingo. I switch into Prawn Cocktail on a fairly hard Brave Bird, and then I'm brought into the red by a second Brave Bird. Prawn Cocktail survives though and is able to nail the stupid Flamingo with a Rock Slide that only just misses the KO. Prawn Cocktail has got the stupid bird low enough to where my Sandcastle can come in, very nearly go down to 2 Brave Birds, and then watch as Larry's last bird knocks itself out. That thing was doing stupid amounts of damage, but we pulled through. One more member of this Elite Four to go then. This time we're facing off against Hassel, and I'm expecting this to be the hardest member of this Elite Four. So Hassel starts with Noivern, and I start with Prawn Cocktail. Noivern is really annoying thanks to Super Fang. There's not a lot I can do though to stop Prawn Cocktail's HP being halved, so instead I decide to just KO this stupid big fat bat as quick as possible. So I take his Super Fang and land an Ice Spinner for the one shot. Second is Draggle, so I click Ice Spinner for a second time and pick up another easy KO. Third is Flapple, and you guessed it, we take a Leech Seed and then click Ice Spinner again. Was really expecting this to be more difficult. Fourth is Haxorus, so after taking a Dragon Claw, Prawn Cocktail actually finally fails to one shot. Suppose it was bound to happen at some point. Prawn Cocktail still did more than I could have asked for, so I switch into Smoky Bacon on a Dragon Claw, take another Dragon Claw to the face, and then finish off the Haxorus with a single Earthquake. This has been pretty easy so far, but unfortunately now the most threatening Pokemon of this Elite Four comes out, Excalibur. This thing is super scary, but if Smoky Bacon can survive one more hit and land a Yawn, I'll be in a really great position. So I decide to take one more risk for this Elite Four and stay in, and Smoky Bacon survives on 7 HP. Jesus, I love this hippo. With the Ice Dragon yawned, I can switch into Monster Munch, take a Brick Break, and then KO with 2 Ice Beams. Nice, that could have easily have gone wrong when it came to dealing with that ace, but our team pulled through once again. That just leaves one final challenge, Geeta. For once though, Geeta is actually looking fairly threatening. I don't really have many good ways to handle a lot of their Pokemon, and a lot of them can hit really hard into my team. This could be risky then. Let's go see if we've got what it takes to beat the champion. Geeta starts with Espira, and I start with Roast Chicken. Espira starts by setting up a Reflect, while I go through a Spore, putting the Ostrich to sleep. I can then safely KO with 2 Hexes. Second for Geeta is the Loser, so I go through the same plan again. Ice Fang is scary, but I've given Roast Chicken a Focus Sash just in case, and it clearly wasn't needed because my Toadstool survives on 10 HP anyway. I'm then able to put the Bitey Fish to sleep and KO with 2 Giga Drains. Third is Avalugg, who would be a huge issue without Monster Munch. With Monster Munch though, it's a simple case of taking 2 weak Avalanches and then KOing with a single crit Earth Power. Fourth is Go-Go, and this thing is actually quite threatening for my team. With Bulk Up and Horn Leech, Cheese and Onion can't 1v1 this goat, so first I have to switch into Smoky Bacon to put it to sleep with a Yawn. Smoky Bacon takes 2 Horn Leeches better than I could have hoped, and then I send in Cheese and Onion as the goat falls asleep. Thanks to Sandstorm Chip, a single Poison Jab is then enough for another KO. Fifth is King Gambit, who is actually really scary at this point. I decide to immediately switch into Prawn Cocktail on a Zen Headbutt that doesn't do much. A Cleave then crits and does massive damage, and of course Prawn Cocktail then just misses the KO with an Earthquake. That was so close to one-shotting. I should still be fine here though, as long as King Gambit doesn't get 2 crits in a row. So I click Earthquake again and watch as Prawn Cocktail takes another hit. Of course he wasn't going to be crit twice in a row. Even I'm not that unlucky. That just leaves Geeta's ace Glamora, so I switch into Monster Munch, who I've been saving for this Poison Rock. Monster Munch takes an Earth Power that doesn't do much on the switch, and then a second Earth Power fails to do it to 50%. Easy. That just means I have to survive one more hit so that a second attack from Monster Munch can end this gauntlet. That's it, the champion in Elite Four has fallen to my team of ground types. Honestly, we had a pretty good matchup into pretty much all of them, meaning that wasn't overly difficult. However, no one expects this video to end here, so let's not pretend otherwise. We've got one more challenge to overcome to win this run, and that means heading to Area 0. Just gotta beat up our friends Arvin, Penny and Nomura one last time, and then very slowly make our way down to our final challenge. I don't mind battling the Professor, I just wish it didn't take around 2 hours to reach her. Eventually though, we do make it to the time machine, and that means it's final battle time. Now you'd think after coming so far I'd prepare a little bit for this final fight, but at this point I just wanted to finish this run, and I was playing at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I kind of maybe just a little bit run into this fight with no plan whatsoever. I don't even bother to switch who I'm sending out first, so wish me luck. Can I end this run on a high despite no preparations? I hope so. Zeta starts with Slitherwing, and I start with Palossand. Not an ideal lead, but I can make it work, so Zeta starts with a weak Zen Headbutt, and of course I get flinched. Brilliant. Luckily, this stupid bug only goes for a lunge on the following turn, meaning I can land a weak Shadow Ball that at the very least lowers the bug's special defense. Another Zen Headbutt then brings my Sandcastle to slightly above 50%, while a second Shadow Ball brings the bug to slightly below 50%. We are winning this, just barely, so I'm sure I can just carry on going for Shadow Balls here, unless I get crit and flinch. Great start to this final fight. I am able to survive one more Zen Headbutt before KOing with the final Shadow Ball that was much closer than I would have liked. Second is Fluttermane, so I switch into Prawn Cocktail, who takes a Shadow Ball on the switch. Ouch. A second Shadow Ball then leaves Prawn Cocktail on 1 HP. Okay, that was bad. I'm sure Assurance will do a lot to make that worth it, right? Oh no, I'm really not doing very well here, am I? Need a new plan. So I switch into Cheese and Onion, who takes 2 Shadow Balls a lot better than Prawn Cocktail, and then KOs with a Poison Jab. Should have just done that to start with. Third is Brute Bonnet, who immediately goes for a Sucker Punch that connects into Cheese and Onion and does a lot. Cheese and Onion is able to retaliate with a Poison Jab that does good damage, but fails to get the KO. I now need to switch here, and half my team is near death, so I decide to go into Smoky Bacon. Smoky Bacon avoids a Sucker Punch on the switch, and thanks to Poison and Sandstorm, a single Protect means the Brute Bonnet goes down. Next is Screamtail, so I take a laughably weak Ice Punch before landing a Yawn. I can then switch into Monster Munch as the Screamtail falls asleep. From there it's an easy KO with 3 Earth Powers. Okay, slowly regaining momentum here, just gotta keep it up. Next is Sandy Shocks, who I'm able to knock out pretty easily with Earth Powers after taking an Earth Power myself. That just leaves one final Pokemon, Roaring Moon. My team is really beat up at this point, so let's see if we can still get through this. I immediately switch into Smoky Bacon, who takes a crit Dragon Claw for massive damage. My team isn't healthy enough to take hits like that, this could be bad. Thankfully, Smoky Bacon comes through like always and survives the second Dragon Claw on the following turn, allowing him to land a Yawn. I can then protect for a turn to force the dragon to fall asleep. Perfect. I can then heal to Thull with Slack Offs. Roaring Moon is still asleep at this point, and I don't really want to risk it waking up as soon as I switch, so I stay in and keep spamming Yawns until the dragon wakes up. I then just have to protect again to make the moon fall asleep. It's then a simple case of switching into Roast Chicken one last time and KOing with 3 Earth Powers. With that, we've won our first ever shiny only run in Pokemon Scarlet. If you've made it to the end of the video, I'd just like to say a massive thank you. I've never spent so long in a single playthrough before, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. I can safely say I hate shiny hunting, but even then I'm glad to say I've done at least one shiny only run. Thanks again guys, I'll see you all next time.